is his or her #1 priority. That I've worked on this for more than a decade. I started by saying that environmental justice and racial justice and economic justice are inseparable. They're inseparable. They are one thing. So when I talk about climate, people think it's a science issue. Like, what are the parts per million? And what's happening down in the Antarctic? And that's all relevant, and I follow that really closely. But I've always looked at this as a human issue. And there's a gigantic racial undertone to that human issue, which is if you travel around this country, which I've done, and you see where the asthma rates are skyrocketing, that's black and brown communities. I'm from California. We have some places with 92% rates of childhood asthma. I've been to Denmark, South Carolina. I know who lives in Denmark. I've been to Flint, Michigan. I know who lives in Flint. I've been up and down the San Joaquin Valley. I know who lives in East Porterville, California. So you're asking me what I'll do at home and internationally. Declare a state of emergency on day one. Do it from the standpoint of environmental justice, that we will clean up the air and water as a way of making sure that our climate policy is just and deals with human needs and justice. We were on the phone. I don't know if you guys know that Herald is one of the most prominent environmental justice leaders in the United States of America. Do you know that? Seriously, we were on the phone this morning with a group of people who are environmental justice leaders, including Mustafa Ali, who also worked with Herald here. I would declare a state of emergency and start putting in rules of what corporations, how they generate energy, what kind of cars they produce, what kind of buildings they live in. Internationally, am I aware that what this is going to lead to? Yes. The United States has to lead internationally because this is an international problem. And if we don't attack it as a group of nations, we lose. We cannot solve this inside the borders of the United States. So what does that mean? First of all, it means you have to declare a state of emergency, because why else would they listen to the biggest polluter in history? Unless we're on our front foot and are saying we're taking it really seriously, and we're asking you to take it really seriously. But then the question becomes, how are we going to convince other people to come along with us? And we are going to have to be moral leaders again. I mean, it's hard to, we once were the moral leaders of the world. That's who we are. That's what the country was created to be: freedom, justice, equality. We have to go back to trying to lead morally in the world. We're going to have to provide finance. When we talk about countries, we're going to have to make it possible for them to move to clean energy. Technologically, we can do this, I promise, financially and commercially. And so when we think about how are we going to deal with global pandemics, which was part of your question, the answer is together. I mean, if you think, this is the last thing I'll say, think about Mr. Trump's foreign policy. It's called America First. America First was a pro-Nazi organization in the United States in the 1930s and early 40s. Really. It's a pro-Nazi organization. His idea is, you can't trust, his whole point is you can't trust us. You know, we're out it for ourselves. If we can take advantage of you, we will. You know, we're not a partner, we're not an ally, we're not even honest. We just are in it for ourselves. You can't solve global pandemics with a group of countries that say, we'll take advantage of you if we get a chance. For us to succeed internationally, we have to go back to the idea that America leads a coalition of countries who share our values, make the world safer and more prosperous. And if there's a better example than climate or global pandemics, I don't know what it is, but I can tell you President Obama did this. He led morally. He put together coalitions of our allies. If you look at the Iran nuclear agreement, it's a classic example of presidential leadership from a values standpoint, and so is the Paris Climate Treaty. So when you ask what are we going to do, we're going to use all of our tools: morality, technology, finance, commerce, to make the world better for everybody, including American citizens, safer and better. But we're going to have to reinvent America as the leader of the world again, which, by the way, we should be, and it kills me that we're not.